What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman. Now we're almost to the end of a third week where there has been a ton of official Marvel news, and at a time when it feels like there really shouldn't be any, from the directors themselves, starting with Taika Waititi after a watch through for Thor Ragnarok talking about the upcoming Love and Thunder, and most recently from Sam Raimi weighing in on the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness second installment for the franchise he is now confirmed to be directing. Now incidentally, that's the same film we get an update about today in an interview and from an unlikely source, none other than the creator of Thanos himself, Jim Starlin, with some insight about a character that's yet to be tied to the film but fits perfectly with what we already know about the Multiverse of Madness. We're going to break down where this interview came from and what he specifically said about the entity of Mistress Death, as well as a young Thanos in the Eternals and a future for that villain in the MCU. Like I said, we're going to break it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including a limited edition Infinity Saga box set at the end of this week. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So in his most recent interview with comicbook.com, Thanos creator Jim Starlin, who also helped create the character Death in the Marvel Universe known as Mistress Death or Lady Death, had to say this about the character in the upcoming Multiverse of Madness. Quote, "They told me early on they didn't feel like abstract entities were something that the movie-going audience was ready for, but in the next Doctor Strange movie, they're stepping into that realm. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Mistress Death showing up there," and this is something that he would know about, not just because he created the character, but in fact, Jim Starlin actually had a cameo in Avengers Endgame. Now, I really love this quote because it helps contextualize the Infinity Saga and really the cosmic entities on a couple of levels. Now, a lot of you guys will remember, obviously, the very first Thanos post-credit scene, and it's sort of common knowledge at this point that when they included him there, both Marvel Studios and Joss Whedon really didn't have a plan for the character going forward, and that's why they originally sowed but never answered this Easter egg for Mistress Death. We're finding out from this quote, it's because they ultimately didn't believe we were ready to buy in to the personification of entities like this on just our first Avengers film, so they changed the motivation of Thanos in the late game to being obsessed with balance. But if they had gone with this quote here of him courting the love of his life in death, then they would have followed the original comic book line closely, and that's probably what Jim Starlin meant. He was interested to see what they were going to do with his character creation. As you guys will probably well know, the original Thanos was obsessed with things like nihilism and existentialism. That's why he was written to be in love with this personification of death. It was a beautiful allegory. Also, quick side note, and in a crazy turn of events in the Marvel Universe, if you didn't know this, Death actually loves Deadpool, who can't die. It's an absolutely crazy love triangle that you can be sure if they're just now breaching the cosmic entity idea in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and then actually introducing her on screen, they're not going to have her going after Deadpool immediately in just his first outing in the MCU, and when she's fresh off the pseudo horror that Multiverse of Madness is meant to be. Even though it is a missed opportunity to have the relationship play out with Thanos the way it did in the comics, she can still be used for a couple of important purposes. One we'll get to, but maybe not so fast on seeing that relationship play out, and if there ever was one. Again, Jim Starlin went on to say this about Thanos in the MCU, and if there is any future for the character. Quote, "Well, I understand that the story's not completely ended. They've already announced that. I think a young Thanos appears in the Eternals. They made load of money off this guy, so I don't see them retiring him anytime soon. Comic book characters tend to have an extended lifespan. I'm half expecting to see much more Thanos down the line, but the way they handled him, I know they thought they did a terrific job. They didn't follow the letter of it. They certainly followed the spirit of it just faithfully. How can I say anything wrong about it at this point?" He's basically saying there again, they explained to him, hey, we can't do this story the way you had it, and it is a masterpiece. If you guys are interested at all, go read the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline. There's a lot in there that makes comic book reading well worth it. But for this character and his ties to Lady Death, there's a couple of opportunities to see this, especially considering it's almost confirmed at this point we're getting a young man Thanos during the Eternals. It's been corroborated by so many sources. multiverses, this Starlin quote is just the cherry on top. And if they're going to do that, considering how long Thanos has lived and how far back the Eternals is set, there's plenty of opportunity in prequels or part of other people's stories for us to see the possibility of this relationship play out, and perhaps no greater evidence of this relationship between Death and Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, again outside of that unanswered Easter egg in Avengers 1, than a specific piece of dialogue that takes place in Infinity War, an as yet unanswered Easter egg. On Vermeer, right before Thanos sacrifices his daughter Gamora, he tells her he can't ignore his destiny. He's already ignored his destiny once. Now, even though that quote lacks a lot of contextualization, it's extremely poignant, it's extremely pointed, and left in the dialogue on purpose. Knowing what we already know about Thanos as a whole and a character, and just how important Lady Death's pursuit was to him in the comics, it's pretty easy to take this as an Easter egg for that. And one of my favorite things to do in theory crafting is take two suppositions that should be mutually exclusive and try to figure out a way that they work together in harmony. And this obsession with balance on behalf of Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe could have easily originated with Lady Death if she in fact decides to leave him or even rejects him because of some imbalance that has to do with him or the way he leads his life. That's what would lead to him acting like this later in life, and instead of having mutually exclusive comic book and Marvel Cinematic Universe origins, you actually have one in the same, one that leads to the other. We just haven't seen it play out on screen yet. Now, one final thought I'll leave you with, and as I just mentioned, yes, missed opportunity to have a relationship between Death and Thanos, of course, but involving her in the upcoming Multiverse of Madness, that's a perfect place to introduce what's one of the easier entities to get our brains around. It's someone called Lady Death. She looks the part, and we can understand basically what she is, even though the abstract conceptualization of why she would be personified as a woman, well, is kind of out there, but that's part and parcel for what was going on in the comics at the time. And like I said, you start small before you start getting to Celestials, and then some of these even bigger personifications of entities like Eternity. Now, that's the only other Easter egg we really have for something like this in the Infinity Saga during Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy, if that's in fact what Peter Quill saw through the eyes of his father when he says out loud, eternity. But man, start small, introduce Lady Death, let the moviegoers, like they said, start to see these sort of personifications before we get to something like Kronos or Eternity, before we get to some of these huge power sets, the Celestials, or even someone like Galactus. Look, if you watch the videos here at the channel, you may think you're a lay fan, but if you're keeping up with some of this deeper Easter egg and theory stuff, if you're keeping up with anonymous plot leaks on 4chan, or even the day-to-day stuff going on at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're a super fan. Most of the fan base here at the channel is. For a lot of the lay fans, they don't even know this comic book origin stuff, let alone you start dropping Eternity and Cronus on screen. It's going to be super hard for them to sort of tie that in with a Captain America Winter Soldier or a more grounded film like the Black Widow that we're about to get. Granted, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is expanding. They've made no secret of that. They're trying to take it in every direction. I can't wait to see what's coming in the Multiverse of Madness, let alone what we're going to get upcoming with the Fantastic Four. But they got to start small and sort of build it out, sort of ramp it up, because if you had just dropped the Living Tribunal in Avengers Endgame or Infinity War like they originally had tried to, you would have left a lot of the lay fans behind. And this is still a worldwide pop brand for popular culture, and a majority of the people, us super fans, we're super ready for it. But for the rest of the people, they got to sort of break them into it. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments about all of this, including beginning to include these entities into the cosmic universe. How awesome is this going to be to finally see this stuff on screen? Let me know all your comments down below, and quickly let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 650,000 subscriber mark. We're headlong into that. All you have to do to be entered to win, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the rest of the prizes here at the channel, like the limited edition Infinity Saga box set. We're giving that away in just a week on April 29th. If you want to get entered to win that, you can get in still. All the same rules will always apply for the PlayStations, the limited edition Infinity Saga box set, or any of the awesome Marvel related prizes that we're coming up with after that. All the same rules will always apply at the channel. Hit the sub button, notification bell, notifications turned on, leave a like and a comment on the video, and because it's truly random, the more videos you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos like we did this past week. We just gave away 2 random PlayStation 4 Pros. All you have to do to find those previous winner announcements, scroll back through the channel, look for winner announcement and sub count in the title, click on that video and scroll to the end. My name's Michael Roman. This is Everything Always, guys. Thanks so much for checking out the channel and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.